Hey guys, welcome to part 4 of Laravel from scratch. In the last video, we played with the routes a little bit and we created a pages controller with some views. Okay, so we can now go to our home page, loads the index view. We can go to About, and we can also go to Services. Okay, now if we look at the templates for these that we created, or the views, they all have repeating HTML, okay, the head tags, body tags, and so on. So what we want to do is create a layout. So in the views folder, we're going to say new folder and then layouts, okay, and you can create multiple layouts, but we're just going to have one, and we're going to call it app.blade.php. Okay, and then what we'll do is grab everything that's in the index and paste it in that layout. And then where we want to put out the view, the content here, the H1 and the paragraph, we're going to just replace that, and we're going to say, we're going to use the @ symbol and then yield, and then in here we're going to say content. Now I want to install an extension for Blade for VS Code. So to do that, we can do a Control P. And here we're just going to start to type ext, we'll say ext install, and I think it's Laravel-Blade. And then over here, yep, Laravel Blade snippets, and we'll click install. Let's reload. And now you can see we have our highlighting for Blade syntax. Good. Now we want to extend this in all of our views, so make sure that that file's saved, and then we'll go down to our index page here, and we're going to actually get rid of everything except the H1 and the paragraph. And then up at the top here, we're going to say @extends, and in here we're going to say content. Or, I'm sorry, not content, the name of the layout, which is going to be app or layouts.app. Now the reason I put layouts.app is because it's in the layouts folder, and then the name of the file is app.blade.php. Now if we want this to go into the main content, we have to wrap it in section content, and then at the end of it we're just going to do end section. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing to the other ones. So let's actually just copy this, and we'll go to About, let's paste that in, and then we want to end the extension, end the section. Okay, save that. Same thing with services. Okay, very simple. So we'll save that, make sure index is saved as well, and then let's go back to our application, reload services, and you'll see that everything's fine. If we go to our index page, look at the source code, it has all of the HTML. Alright, so it makes it so that we don't have to keep repeating ourselves and jam all that extra HTML in there. So now let's talk about passing values into a Blade template. So if we go to our controller, and let's say in our index function here we want to create a variable called title, and we're just going to set that to welcome to Laravel, and then we want to bring this value into our template or our view. So what we would do is add an extra parameter here, and we can say there's two ways to do this, or two main ways. So that one is to say compact and then pass in title. So now if we go ahead and save that, and we go back to, let's go to our index template, and in this H1 we're going to put double curly braces and just say $ title. Alright, and we'll save that and reload, and you see welcome to Laravel. So if we were to change this, let's just add an exclamation to it here just to make sure that it's actually coming from here, and you see we get an exclamation. So that's one way to pass in a single value. Another way, I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna comment it out because I want you guys to have this code. Another way that we can do it is not by adding a second parameter like that, but by adding onto it like this. So we'll say arrow and then width. And then in here we can pass in what we want to call the variable inside of the view, and then also the variable, okay, which comes from here. So if we save that and we go back, reload, we get the same thing. Okay, so this is the method that I usually use. If you want to pass in multiple values as an array, you probably want to use this as well. Okay, so let's also add a title to the about. We'll do the same thing. So we'll just say, let's say about us, and we'll pass that in. Obviously, you don't have to make the title dynamic like this, but it just gives you an idea of how to do it. And you could also go like this. You could say PHP echo title, which a lot of template engines don't allow. But let's try that. So if we go to about, you see that that works as well. And I'll just leave it like that just for an example. Now, if you want to pass in multiple values, what we can do, let's actually go to services, and we're going to create a variable called data and set that to an array. All right, and this is going to be an associative array, meaning that it's going to be key value pairs. So let's say we want to add a title. We'll say equals and then greater than, and then we'll say services. All right, and then we can pass this in. We can say with and just pass in data. So now if we go to our services route, our services view, and let's replace this with title, and then go to /services, you'll see that that works. Now what I want to do is pass in an array of services. So we're going to add another value to this array, which is going to be another array, just a regular one. And we'll say web design, programming, and SEO. Okay, now since we put this inside the data array, we're passing it in, and we should be able to access this. So let's save it and go to our service.blade.php. And first thing we want to do is check for the services. I'm going to get rid of this. And to do that, we can say if, and we can even put functions in here. So if we want to say if count services is greater than 0, and then down here we'll say end if. So we're checking to make sure that there's at least one service in that array. If there is, then we're going to loop through it. So we can do at for each, and we can say services. Whoops, that should be inside the parentheses. So services as service. Okay, and then we just want to end for each. And in here, let's put an li tag, and let's say service. All right, and let's put ULs outside of the for each. All right, so we'll save that. Let's go back and reload. And now you'll see that we're looping through the services array that was passed in, and we're outputting them. All right, so now I want to talk about assets in CSS. So by default, if we look in our public folder, there's a CSS folder and there's an app.css. So this is basically all of everything compiled, and this even includes Bootstrap, okay, because Laravel includes it by default. So what we can do is we can go to our layout, and we'll go up here, and let's say link rel style sheet. And when we want to load something from the public asset folder, we can use our double curly brace, and we can say asset, and in here we'll say in the CSS folder /app.css. Alright, let's save that and see what we get. And now you can see that it's actually using that CSS file that has Bootstrap, it has all that stuff compiled. Now, if you didn't want to compile your own CSS and all that, you could easily just replace this with your just custom CSS. But I want to show you guys how to do that. So if we look in resources, there's an assets folder there. And if we look in Sass, there's two files. There's an app.css, and what this is doing, it's bringing in a font, the Railway font. It's importing a file called variables, and it's importing Bootstrap from the node modules folder, Bootstrap Sass. Alright, and if we look at the variables folder, or file, it has a bunch of different values with colors and all that, and we can easily change these. Now, in order to compile this and use this, we have to do an npm install, because if you look at right here where it's including Bootstrap, it's coming from node modules, and we don't have that by default. We need to run npm install to actually create that and install the dependencies. Now if we look down at package.json in the root, you'll see that it includes Bootstrap Sass. It includes Laravel Mix, which takes care of compiling assets. It also includes Vue, which is a front-end JavaScript framework. So we can use all this stuff, but we need to open up the terminal, and we're going to do an npm install. Alright, and this takes quite a while. It usually takes about 3 or 4 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll be back when it's done. Alright, that actually didn't take very long. It actually only took about 40 seconds or so. Alright, so let's clear this out. And now that created a node modules folder, which is, where the hell is it? Oh, I probably have to refresh. Yeah, there it is, node modules. So if we want to change something, like let's go to resources. If you're compiling it like we are, you always want to go in your resources and change it there, not in your public, okay? Because that's just the compiled version. So if we go to variables, let's close the terminal for now, and we change, let's see, body background. So just to test it out, let's comment that out. And then we'll say body-bg, and we'll just set it to red just to test it out. Alright, and then we save that. If we go back over and reload, we're not seeing that change. Okay, the reason for that is we need to recompile it. So to do that, we're going to go back into our terminal. Oops. And we're going to do npm run dev. And what that's going to do is it's going to look at all of our Sass files, everything, all of our assets, and compile it. Okay, now if we go back and reload, actually we probably have to clear the cache with a control F5, and now you'll see that it's changed to red. Okay, now if you don't want to have to run npm run dev every time you change something, you can just do, let me clear this out, you can do npm run watch, and that'll constantly watch the files. Okay, notice how it never completes because it's still running. And now if I want to go and change this back, I'll just get rid of the body there and then uncomment that, save it. You'll see that it recompiles automatically. If we go back and reload, it goes back to gray. Now if you want to add your own custom style sheet, what I would suggest is, let's just make this smaller for now. What I would suggest is creating inside resources, assets, Sass, create a new file called _custom.sass, not Sass, SCSS. And then in here, let's see, just to test things out, let's say body, yeah, we'll just do body, and then I'll say background blue, and let's add important just so it overwrites any other styles. And then we'll save that, and then we need to include this file in app.scss. So we'll go right here, and we'll say custom. Actually, you know what? We'll put it after Bootstrap. Custom CSS, and we should be able to just do import custom. Well, that should be in quotes. All right, we don't have to include the extension. We don't have to include the underscore because the underscore tells it that this is an include. So let's save that, and it should automatically compile because we have npm run watch running. And now if I reload, we get blue. Okay, but I'm not going to keep that there. I am going to keep the file. I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, recompiles, and now it's back to gray. So that's what you need to do if you want to use Sass and you want to compile everything. Now we're not going to be using much custom styling. We're just going to use standard Bootstrap. So I'm not going to keep this running, this watch. I'm going to Control C out of it. All right, and then if we do want to change or add some styles, we can change it in the resources, and then we can recompile it. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I know that some people get confused with the whole compiling thing. But like I said, if you don't want to use any of that, go right into your public, into app CSS, and go ahead and change this, put what you want. Obviously, you can't use Sass if you do it that way, and some other things, but you can do that to keep it simple. So the last thing I want to do in this video is create a navbar. Okay, so we can switch between these pages that we have. So let's go to our app.blade, and the content, I actually want to wrap that in a container, which is just a Bootstrap class. Container. All right. And if we look at it now, it'll push over. Okay, goes into the middle. Let's also add a list group class to this UL. So if we go to services, let's go class equals, we'll say list group, and then the LIs are going to have a class of list group item. Okay, that will make that look a little better. Good. Now for the navbar, we want it to go in the layout because we want it on every page, but I'm actually going to put it inside of an include and then just include it. So we can do that by creating a folder in the views, and we're going to call it inc. All right, and then we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call it navbar.blade.php. Okay, and for now, let's just say navbar and save it. And then we'll go to our layout, and we're going to include that. Let's see, where do I want to put that? We're going to put it above the container. So right here, let's say at include, and this is Blade syntax. We'll just say include, and then it's in the inc folder, and it's called navbar. So if we save and go back and reload, you'll see that that's being included. Now to get the navbar, I'm just going to go to getbootstrap.com. You guys probably know the deal. We'll go to getting started. We'll go to examples, starter template, and Control U. All right, I'm just going to grab this nav tag right here. The reason I do this instead of going to the regular component section of the documentation is because it doesn't include all the junk, the search, the drop downs, all that stuff. I just want a very basic navbar, and that seems to be perfect. So let's go to navbar.blade and paste that in. We're going to get rid of the navbar fixed top. Let's see, for the project name here, what I'll do is from the layout file, I'm going to grab this right here, which gives us the app name that's in the config. So we'll copy that, and then we'll put it for the project name. All right, and let's see what else I want to do here. For the brand route, we'll just go to slash, and then let's create our links. So this is going to go to slash. I'm going to get rid of the class active for now. And then about is going to go to slash about, and then we have services, which will go to slash services. All right, let's check that out. Reload, and there we go. Now we can switch between our pages. And then real quick for the index page, I'm just going to paste in the Jumbotron. So if we go to index.blade.php, I'm going to replace the H1 in the paragraph and paste this in. Alright, so basically we just have a div with the class of Jumbotron and Text Center. We have our H1, we have our paragraph, and then we just have a couple links with the button class. Okay, so it's going to go to /login, and then this one here is going to go to /register. It's not going to work, but I just want to get the markup in there. Alright, so let's save that. And now if we reload, it should look like that. So our pages are pretty much done as far as the regular pages and the pages controller. In the next video, we're going to start to build on our blog. So to do that, we're going to create a post controller, we're going to create a post model, we're going to work with the database, we're going to get into some more advanced stuff. Alright, so thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe, please leave a like, and I will see you in the next video.